And now, a Scared for Reals Extra.
Hey, it's Chris O'Neill. Adam Perry is under the weather today, so I'm going to handle Scare for Reals this week. And by the way, you can reach out to us. Let us know what you think so far. Give us some feedback. We're on Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube, Mixcloud, SoundCloud. We're everywhere, and hopefully you're enjoying what we've been discussing so far. Classic cult films, horror movies, and even some of the new ones, too. As a matter of fact, I just barely saw the new movie Tarot, the new supernatural horror film written by Spencer Cohen and Anna Hallberg. It's both their first movie. It's co-written by Nicholas Adams. It's based on a 1992 novel, Horoscope, by Nicholas Adams. And back when this got into pre-production in 2022, that was going to be the name of the movie, Horoscope. Now, you got a young, fresh cast here. You probably will recognize a couple of the faces like I did. Jacob Batalon. You remember him? He was Ned Leeds in the Spider-Man movies, the newer Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland. Yeah, he was Peter Parker's best friend in those movies. Humberly Gonzalez. You probably remember her if you remember the movie Nobody, but yeah, the rest of the cast is pretty much fresh. I'm going to be delving into the plot here. Just FYI, spoiler alert. I'm going to be delving into the plot from start to finish. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to see it, don't listen right now. Wait until you've seen the movie. Or if you don't care, by all means proceed, but don't say I didn't warn you. It's a very straightforward, familiar plot we've seen 1,000 times. 7 friends, they rent out a mansion in the middle of nowhere, the Catskills, and it's not a typical kind of a mansion. It's kind of creepy, got some creepy vibes. Again, we've seen this 1,000 times. It's one of their friends' birthdays, and they got some tension. A couple just recently broke up. It's actually the main 2 characters, come to find out. They broke up, but one of them is an astrologist. She's delved into horoscopes. You come to find out more about that later. So they see a door that says do not enter, and they state the obvious. Hey, probably shouldn't enter, right? They state the obvious. There's a do not enter. So they bust down the door anyways, and surprise, surprise, it leads down into a creepy, dusty basement. And they're looking around. They see a bunch of weird astrology decor, signage, statues, figurines, and then they come across a box of tarot cards. Of course, again, they're warned because the young astrologist in the group states that using someone else's deck is against the rules. But they want to distract themselves, so they kind of pressure her into reading the horoscopes. And they're not just any old tarot cards. They're kind of like hand-painted. So she goes through each of the 6 friends, and one of them receives the High Priestess, and one of the guys gets the Hermit, the other one gets the Hangman, while 2 of them are read the Magician and the Fool, respectively. Paige and Paxton are the ones that get the Magician and the Fool. Haley is the name of the main character in this movie, okay? When Haley reveals that her ex-boyfriend, Grant, has the Devil card, the 2 argue. Finally, Haley herself reads her own horoscope with the cards and gets the Death card. Surprise, surprise. Again, if you can't see any of this stuff from a mile away, you haven't seen a lot of horror movies. So fast forward, the next day, the group returns to their campus. So you kind of assume they're college students, even though they're like 21 years old. They return to campus the following day and notices Haley's readings coming true, such as Lucas. He's one of the ones that got the financial reward. Lucas was the one who gets the Hermit card, okay? But she kind of predicts that Lucas is going to receive some sort of financial reward. And that night, the one who had the birthday actually investigates strange noises in the attic and is attacked by the monstrous version of the High Priestess. And you get a bludgeoning to death with a ladder. Now, one thing I will say is the goriness is kind of heard and not seen. The movie is rated PG-13. So, I mean, if you've got a teenager who likes horror movies and you don't want your teenager to see a gory one, Tarot may be an okay movie for you. But the graphic violence is insinuated by the noise and the sounds, the spooky atmosphere. You don't see a lot of blood in this movie, okay? So the birthday girl is the first to go because she's the first one that got her horoscope read to her. It kind of goes in order. So you get a kind of Final Destination vibe thing going on. At least that's what I was feeling. So after the high priestess bludgeons the birthday girl to her death with a ladder, her death is actually considered an accident. The others are shocked, and Haley, the astrologist of the group, reveals she began reading tarot while her mom was fighting some sort of illness. But the cards always foretold her death. And then Lucas, the guy who got the financial reward, and he's got the hermit card. Lucas is later attacked by a creature that looks like the hermit in a train station, and he's killed by a speeding train while attempting to flee. Now, Haley, again, she's the astrologist of the bunch, notices that each death corresponds to the tarot readings, and the group suspects something is amiss with the deck. So they decide to visit this expert on the occult and tarot readings. So you always have an older, wiser person who has either survived these tragedies or is an expert among the occult. But this woman's name is Alma Astrin, and she identifies the cards as belonging to an astrologer whom in the late 18th century served as a Hungarian baron. She served a Hungarian baron and would predict the future for him. And the story goes in a brief flashback sequence. After reading that predicting the Baron's pregnant wife would die in childbirth, the Baron banishes her, and after the reading comes true, the grief-stricken Baron orders his men to kill the astrologer's daughter. You know, kind of tit for tat kind of deal. Now, the astrologer, after her daughter is killed, is driven mad by grief. She puts some sort of dark curse upon the Baron, but in doing so, she kills herself, and the blood from her curses the deck, and it kills anyone who uses them. The deck of cards, okay? And this older woman who survived one of these attacks, she had a group of friends too, who stumbled upon these specific tarot cards. She reveals that the cards are responsible for several tarot reading groups dying in the past, including an incident in London that she herself narrowly survived. So Alma urges the group to destroy the deck, which is still at the mansion. So the surviving group members drive to the mansion. Their car breaks down, and they're attacked by the hangman who kills Madeline. Again, she was the third one who got her horoscope read by Haley. So terrified, Paxton, the guy who plays Peter Parker's best friend in the Spider-Man movies, Paxton leaves the others and returns to the campus while Haley, Grant, and Paige return to the mansion. And at the campus, Paxton, Peter Parker's best friend in Spider-Man, is stalked by the Fool, which was his card, and is eventually cornered in an elevator. Now, the group is unable to burn the cards. They request Alma's assistance. What Alma does, somehow Alma, who was left behind, she goes up to the Catskills herself after being in the city. She tries to help out. So what Alma does is she attempts to contact the astrologer's spirit, and after she appears, Alma herself is killed by the Six of Swords, which was her reading. And then Paige accidentally splits away, gotta love it, accidentally just splits away from the rest of the group, Grant and Haley, and is lured into the basement where she gets sawed in half by the magician, which was her tarot reading. Upstairs, Grant and Haley are attacked by the devil and death, respectively. So as Grant is dragged away by the devil, Haley confronts the astrologer herself, as we got a dueling astrologers battle here. Haley uses the cards to read the astrologer spirit's horoscope, which lands on death. Haley lets go of her mother's grief and the astrologer spirit, consequently burnt along but aside the deck. So Haley and Grant reconcile because they were, again, split up at the beginning of the movie, but Haley and Grant reconcile over their survival, relationship, start to make their way home, and on the way, surprise, surprise, Paxton did not get killed. So Paxton is alive, he survived his ordeal, and on the drive back to campus, Paxton retells his survival story, and there you go. and then that's how the movie ends. I expected some sort of jump scare at the end of the movie, the very, very last scene, to kind of make it open for a sequel, but alas, it didn't happen, and I hope they don't make a sequel to this. I mean, this, again, I'm not trying to knock movies, because I love watching movies. I'm kind of a snob. My wife will tell you that. But this horror movie is so predictable from start to finish. There's no surprises here, and it's kind of underwhelming, to say the least. But again, if you've got a teenager, you're into mindless horror movies, you probably won't be as harsh with this one. But again, there's some cool atmosphere to this, and I'm kind of curious what Spencer Cohen and Anna Hallberg will do. Again, this is their very first movie, so we will have to wait and see what their future holds. It's not a horrible way to kill 90 minutes, and that's the thing. This movie isn't dragged out. I will say that compared to some of the other movies I've seen of late, it's okay, but it's mindless. But the movie isn't stretched into a 2 hour or 2.5 hour plus running time. I've seen a lot of movies that are just stretched way longer than they need to be lately. But this one, 90 minutes, I just wish the script of the movie was better. I'm not sure how the novel is. Again, this is based upon a 1992 novel called Horoscope, but I'm reading the plot. In a new thriller by the author of the Horror High series, a killer selects victims based upon the signs of the zodiac. So it sounds like the Horoscope novel has a serial killer doing this, but the movie changed it to a spirit of the astrologist back in the 1800s, stalking anyone who gets a hold of these cursed tarot cards. Now, the movie script actually sounds more interesting. I just wish it was better. Again, I get a lot of Hammer vibes from this, and as I mentioned before, I also get Final Destination vibes. And of course, this is very similar to a lot of 80s movies, especially like the Friday the 13th and also Nightmare on Elm Street, where you have a group of friends and one by one they start dying. I know John Carpenter really kicked all that off with Halloween. But again, this is like who's going to survive at the end. In this one, we've got 3 survivors. And again, I was surprised about one of the friends living. So I guess that's the surprise of the movie. But it's very underwhelming, unfortunately. I just wish it could have been better, because 90 minutes for a horror movie is like the perfect runtime, okay? That was the thing that brought the movie Abigail, which we saw a couple of weeks ago, down a little bit. The movie was like 20 to 30 minutes too long. It was almost 2 hours. This one's the perfect running time of 90 minutes. Unfortunately, simplistic and unsatisfying movie, no surprises. I will never watch it again, but if you've got teenagers in your household, they want to have a night out with their friends, or if they have a date night with their significant others, it's a mindless movie, and it's not a too bad way to kill 90 minutes, even though they could be watching something better, that's for sure. With a budget of $8 million, will probably gross a little bit more than its budget, which means we could end up with a sequel or perhaps a prequel. Don't see a need to carry on or create a franchise out of this, but you know it's made by Sony Pictures, and most of the big studios are looking for the next big franchise. They see dollar signs. Instead of quality movies, a lot of the big studios are searching for the next big franchise or sequel. Now, it doesn't leave it wide open for a sequel, but there is potential for a prequel, revisiting the cards origins or one of the other times that the deck was used or something like that. But let's hope not. Let's hope not. Again, this movie is not terrible. 2 stars I would give it. Did you see the movie Tarot? If so, comment. Tell us what you think. Did you like it, or do you agree with me that it's very underwhelming and unsatisfying? Again, you can reach out, Scared for Reels, on Facebook, X, Instagram. We're also not only on YouTube, but on Mixcloud and SoundCloud as well. I'm Chris O'Neill. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time on Scared for Reels.